Welcome to Scoop World Order. Happy Sunday. It is game week, ladies and gentlemen. The Ohio State football coaching staff is in the Woody Hayes right now, officially game planning for Indiana. They're on the grind. It's one of those work till 10 p.m. nights, and it's time to get going. +1 practice tomorrow on Monday, then started by Bloody Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday cleanup day, Friday travel. Saturday, the foot will hit the ball at 3:30 on CBS, so we're super excited to break down this Ohio State-Indiana game. We're going to go through some of the camp battles, who's won, who's going to start, who's where. A lot of questions still to be answered. I think this is a unique season where we start off with 3 patsies, so it's going to be a little bit lighter of a schedule, and you can kind of keep developing guys and keep going in that training camp mentality. So this is going to be a different one. We're going to get into all that. And also, a potential 5-star commit coming soon to Ohio State at a position of need. So with that being said, as always, we're very grateful and thankful for you guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in today. As always, we appreciate you guys loving us up, giving us those likes. If you can leave us a like, those are humongous for the show. If you click subscribe, send the show to your friends. We appreciate that as always. If you like our live shows, click the little alert bell. You'll get an alert every time we go live so you never miss a show. And comment. Who is going to be your breakout player this year? Is it going to be Josh Simmons? Is it going to be Mayan Williams? There's a lot of great candidates out there this year. Dibson Igbinosin, Sonny Styles. I want to hear who your breakout player is. Give me one on offense and one on defense, and we'll get rolling into this show. Of course, I got to bring in my good friend, Nevadabuck. Nevada, how are you today? He is on mute. I think he's too excited from the El Segundo when he was watching that momentarily ago. So we're going to get him back in here. Nevada, do we have you now? Are you recovered from the Little League World Championship?
I'm so excited. Walk-off home run in the bottom of the 6th inning for El Segundo Little League to win the I mean, come on, as a kid, who hasn't dreamed about hitting a home run in the bottom of the 6th inning to win the Little League World Series? I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Yeah, that was pretty spectacular, pretty exciting time for sure, and great time for baseball down in this area. So yeah, I'm excited, and now on to Indiana Ohio State football. Let's kick it off. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and just so people are clear, for those who don't realize, that's like 10 minutes away from where you live, correct, Nevada?
Well, it's 3 minutes away from where I live. I mean,
Okay.
like literally, it's literally like I could hit like a good drive and be in El Segundo. So yeah, no, just so excited. A lot of the kids. No, the manager was a guy that got me into the restaurant business, Danny Boley, and I just, like I said, just I'm so excited for him. What an accomplishment for little El Segundo to win the world championship. And what a great game! I mean, anybody
Yeah.
saw the game? It was a classic. So yeah, great moment. Really excited, and but now ready to talk Ohio State football.
Well, we're going to get into a game that hopefully won't be as close. I'm going to turn up the depth chart right here for Ohio State heading into this tilt with Indiana. This is a preseason depth chart. Again, I think most of this held chalk. Josh Simmons and Josh Fryer need to be swapped. But Nevada, any surprises on the depth chart? Initially, I believe, like you, that Kyle McCord will start the first game. I think Devin Brown can start the second game. I think that they're both going to play liberally for the first 3 games. I think that's the benefit to having a softer start to the season. You're not opening with Notre Dame. You're not opening with Texas week 2, or some of those years where we've had like a powerhouse coming. We had USC in 09 coming to the shoe. This is a different season. We have Indiana, which is a road Big Ten game, but that's one of the lesser teams in the Big Ten. And then you have 2 teams that will be probably 49-point favorites over, around that note, 42-point favorites. So you're going to be able to keep sprinkling these guys in and keep evaluating them before we go to South Bend week 4. What are your thoughts on where we're at depth-wise? I think camp was a massive success. I think the fact that we avoided major injuries, minus Court Williams, of course, is a huge benefit. Guys are always dinged up, but your thoughts on camp, the battles, any surprises on the depth chart for you?
Well, no, I just think, I mean, look, the story of camp to me was the Philbin influence and the running of kind of an NFL style fall camp. And it's the first time that I've ever seen it done this way. We talked about it in a number of the pods, but, going to 2 fields, kind of doubling the reps, moving the guys around, very high intensity I just, like I said, I think it's going to pay huge dividends. The fact that they were able to avoid major injury through fall camp is just, humongous. You hate even talking about that, but knock on wood, we're able to avoid that. And from a quarterback standpoint, I mean, now for Ryan Day, the path of least resistance is to start Kyle McCord and play both guys liberally, because then if you do anything else, you're kind of making a statement. If you start Devin Brown over Kyle McCord, even if you alternate series, then you're kind of making a little bit of a statement. I think if you start Kyle and Devin Brown's coming in and playing, they're doing two series and then another two and then another two, another two. I just think that's an easier way for him to handle this quarterback situation. And the end goal is by week 3 that you've got a really good idea of what you've got at the quarterback position, so that you can script out a full game in week 3 for the quote unquote starting quarterback, and then have them completely ready to go by week 4 in Notre Dame. And I think that's what's going to happen. That's probably going to happen. Barring something unforeseen, sickness, injury, or some other weirdness. But I think that's what we're going to see. And it's going to make watching the first 2 games super interesting, because both guys are going to be under it. They're going to be under the gun to make the right decisions, put the team in the right spots, make the right throws, be responsible with the ball. And we're all going to get a chance to kind of evaluate. Like, it's almost like being there at practice, but with 100,000 of your friends watching, and we'll get a chance to kind of evaluate the QB battle in real time and give our take. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating to watch how he handles the quarterback derby. I think that the safe guy is McCord, obviously starting a game. He's a year older. Came in with Marvin, which you keep your number 1 receiver happier, I guess. If that's his boy, a guy that he's known for 6-ish years or so through their days coming up in PA. But I think it's going to be really exciting to see the offensive line, how they mesh, gel, whatever you want to say. How well can we pass protect? And how much are we going to force these guys to be back in empty 5 wide or 4 wide or whatever, and put these guys out on islands when, frankly, they don't have a lot of experience out on the edges. So there's a way to protect these guys, make it a little easier on them. Again, I'm a big advocate of running the ball, especially early in the season when it's hot, especially if you're in better shape. You can wear teams down. That's not a cliche. It happens. I see it. And you can express some physicalities in offense, which is something that, frankly, I think we've been lacking the last 2 years. I think that when we've run into physical opponents, they've given us trouble. Obviously, we have the flash with Emeka and Marvin on the edges, but we need some of the smash, because the smash is what carries into those cold days in November when you got to go win a Big Ten championship. So I'm really excited to see how Josh Simmons hangs in there. I think Josh Fryer. I think the story of camp for me, just being a line guy, is moving Josh Fryer back to right tackle, where I thought he was immeasurably better and more efficient and just more comfortable than he was at left. I watched a lot of reps of him at left tackle. Was very nervous about it. I think Jimmy Simmons, he's a better athlete, but does he have the footwork to hang in there on the edge? Again, we've been blessed the last couple of years because we've had Nick Petit-Frere, who's an NFL day 1 starter. DeJuan Jones has been fantastic for the Browns. Obviously, he's going to make the Browns to be their swing tackle. And Paris Johnson was a 6th overall pick, the highest drafted lineman since Orlando Pace. So, we had premium level players, a blue chip left tackle, a kid that was underdrafted in the NFL draft in DeJuan last year. Can we manufacture, do the Moneyball thing, and get a similar level of production and pass protection out of Josh Fryer and Jimmy Simmons? That is on Ryan Day. He's the play caller. That's on Justin Fry, and it's on Brian Hartline. So I'll be fascinated to watch that. The guy that I really want to see, he's already broken out once, but he needs to re-break out, is Trey Henderson. I think Trey Henderson's a guy that has the upside of being a Bijan Robinson type player in the NFL. Whereas, Mayan, who I think is a very capable player, is more of a Mike Webberish kind of guy, kind of a back end of the draft guy that could make a team, play special teams. But he's not that high end guy that like a Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs is. And that's what I think Trey can be. And I think that most people, that have eyes can see that Trey Henderson is clearly the most talented back in that room, and he's healthy and he's focused, and frankly, he's trying to get paid, and he saw Bijan go top 10. He saw Jahmyr Gibbs go 12. He's a guy that I think that they need to feed. And I'm excited to see how hard he runs. 'Cause I think that, his freshman year, one of his best attributes is that he ran incredibly hard. He dropped his shoulder on guys. He wasn't allergic to contact. Because I've seen some of these guys in their third years as running backs, they turn into rabbits and they run out of bounds and they avoid contact and they're in like preservation mode. And I hate that. And I hope Trey isn't that. I don't think he will be. Nevada, who are a couple guys that you want to see early in the game just to see where they're at in their progression at Ohio State?
Well, I mean, for me, the obvious one is a Sonny Styles, a CJ Hicks, a Kenyatta Jackson, guys that have been really balling out. But let's see what they can do on the defensive side. Obviously those are all defensive players, but on the offensive side, it's kind of a tribute to Kirk Barton's 2006 team. I want to see if they roll the second unit out there as a complete group and roll out there. There are some rumblings that they might do it. The question is, will they pull it off in terms of doing it? They've talked about it. Will they do it? Because we remember what they did in 2006 when they did it. They did it one time. You and I have got to break that down because according to Burt Garten, that wasn't the greatest blocking job of all time, but the drive did result in a touchdown, and then they went away from it and never did it again. So I think every 17 years they have to roll the second line out there when it matters in a game, and I think this is the year to do it. So let's go.
I don't know if I've ever seen any team do that. And I'm talking, this wasn't at Indiana. This was playing number one Texas at Texas, and our staff and training staff, they were so petrified that it was going to be 101 degrees and we're all going to die, because it's so hot. So they told those guys all week, you're in the third series. It doesn't matter if we're coming out on the 1 yard line and we have 99 yards to drive, or if we're on our 1 foot line to punch it in, you guys are going in. It was ironclad. And I was in the mode where I was like, there's no way you're going to put these guys in against Frank Oakham and Brian Arakpo, first rounder. I was like, there's no way. These guys, but they did. And I'm telling you, there are certain plays you can call where you don't have to block anybody. And that's all. 3 plays and we scored. And it was a turnover. I don't know if it was Donald Washington or if it was James. I feel like it was Donald. He picked up a fumble or something. And I remember watching they put on this like Godzillatron. It was like the biggest Jumbotron in the world when they installed it. And I remember watching Donald running across the field, and his nameplate was like the widest. Washington's like, however many letters. And I was like, all right, let's go. We're down on the 25-yard line or 30-yard line, like going in. We hadn't scored yet. And, Texas, they didn't have Vince Young, but Colt McCoy is still in the NFL. They had Jamal Charles, who's one of the best running backs probably that I ever saw in person. He's unbelievable. Henry Melton played a long time in the NFL as a Pro Bowler, as a defensive tackle. They had legit dudes. So I was like, let's not screw this up. And they put them threes out there. And I was like, oh my God, this could be the worst thing we've ever done. And sure as could be, they went down and scored on 3 plays. So, sometimes things are overrated. I'm a big advocate of protecting your offensive line early in the season. Obviously, you want the big dominating O-line, but I've just lived it. When you've got a bunch of new guys in there, you're trying to make sure they got their confidence, they got their wits about them. You can make it easier on them, or you can make it really hard on them. So, it's kind of like when you've got a new starting quarterback, throw a couple easy slants to let them get loose. Let them get a few completions going. You don't have to throw 70-yard bombs that are hard to complete, difficult throws. Let them get a little rhythm going. I'm just a big believer in that. I think that I've seen guys that are nervous, they get anxiety, they get the butterflies, and you can take a lot of that away if you just call like a nice physical early running down type game. So it'll be interesting to see how they treat these guys, because Jimmy Simmons has started games in college football, but he's never played at Ohio State. This is nothing like San Diego State. Josh just started 1 game. Carson has never started a game. He's never played center in a game. And then you have 2 guards that have played a lot of football. So it'll be interesting to see how they treat these guys. Any other guys that you're looking forward to seeing? There's some guys I think that are kind of total mysteries to a lot of us. Like Jahad Carter's a guy that I think is going to end up playing a lot for us, and kind of a mystery. A guy that was hurt for all of spring. He's been banged in camp. Obviously Sonny playing Sam linebacker is something that you had a nugget on about 2 months ago that he's going to be playing Sam linebacker slash nickel slash strike slash whatever dumb name they want to call it. It's Sam linebacker basically. But I'm excited to see Mike Hall. Are there any other guys that you're raring to see go against Indiana?
Well, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis. I mean,
Yeah.
no Rogers. The Rogers. But I mean, it's like that's the great thing about this team. I mean, this is not hyperbole. This is just fact. This is the deepest Ohio State team that I've ever seen. And so as a result, when you're going to see guys that are twos, or you're going to guys see that are threes, that are really good players. So like this is one of those ones where don't turn it off, don't turn away because whatever's going on with things, because you've got a lot of guys that can play, and that hasn't always been the case. I mean, Ohio State's always had great talent, always had great top end talent, but I don't think I've ever seen a team that went as deep as this one. And it's going to make watching the games thoroughly enjoyable. And print out your roster before the game so you know the numbers and you can figure out who it is that's doing what. But between the two quarterback derbies, 12 guys on the offensive line that can play, 10 wide receivers that are ready to go. I mean, 9 linebackers that can play. I mean, it's going to be one that's going to be roster heavy this year. So make sure you've got it. Make sure you work on that. We'll play roster bingo as we're going along, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
No, I agree. I think as you get into the season, you're going to see young guys. Again, the way the schedule sets up, honestly, it's really nice. You're not playing Notre Dame week 1. You're not playing a team that is a top 10 matchup. So you can really get after it, and you can rotate some of these guys and some of these young guys. I mean, I'm going to do a bold prediction throughout on BuckeyeScoop.com, but bold prediction, not really that bold, but just based on everything. I think Carnell Tate scores a touchdown week 1. I really do. I think he's going to be a guy they're going to take the top off. I think that if you assess the 3 most talented receivers in the room right now, it's Marvin Emeka and Carnell. So, I know that Julian Fleming is the old guy. They're going to play him. He's going to start, whatever. Xavier is the captain, Block O, whatever. But Carnell's the guy that's going to be the next top 10 pick. He's going to be the guy that carries the torch. And I think he's a little ahead of Brandon Ennis just because he's able to graduate early, got here in January instead of in June. And that 6-month window is humongous for development, learning the playbook, learning everything. It was by the time when you're a guy that enrolls early and you go through winter conditioning, mat drills, spring ball, you go through all that. By the time you hit June, when all your boys are showing up, like when Brandon Ennis is showing up, you're already like a veteran. You're already kind of like it's like almost like you're a sophomore because you've already had 6 months in the program, and it's old hat at that point because you know where to go, how to do it. Mickey Marotti, your body's going to be in great shape just because you've had 6 months of Ohio State workouts, and our workouts are brutal. So, it's just a whole different ball of wax than coming in from high school in June. And the most important thing is you can learn the playbook. You can go through spring, you can get with the GAs, get with the young coaches and have them run you through stuff. And most importantly, in that room is you get to be around Marvin and Emeka for 6 months and learn how those guys do it and how those guys work. So that's a huge benefit to growing early, man. Because when you have a good position room with a really good culture, you want to absorb all of that because they're not going to be here for. I mean, we got about 5-ish months left of Emeka and Marvin as Buckeyes before they declare and go pro. So every minute you can be around those guys is crucial. And Carnell had double the time that Brandon Ennis did. Now I'm not saying Brandon Ennis isn't an absolute dog because I think he's an absolute monster, but that extra 6 months helps Carnell, kind of get ahead of him. Defensively, God, Ty Hamilton, I get so many rave reviews about Ty Hamilton just doing everything right and just being a workhorse. His brother got a massive second contract. It was like $40 million. And he's kind of the same guy. He's kind of coming into his own, a little bit of a late bloomer. But every time I want to write down Ty Leak in the depth chart, I always think, I think the guy that they really trust in there is Ty Hamilton. He's kind of the guy that easily could be a captain next year. He easily could be one of those workhorse guys that's underheralded. He's not a defensive end. He doesn't get the flash, but he's a guy everybody respects. He's very hard to block. And then you put him next to JT and Jack and then Mike Hall or Ty Leak. That's a pretty vicious group along with Tywone Malone. Nevada, what are your thoughts on the defensive line and any predictions you have for that group?
Well, I think they're going to rotate a lot of guys. I mean, obviously, I mentioned Kenyatta Jackson. You can talk about Caden Curry, obviously, Ty Hamilton's a guy who's flown under the radar for, a great deal of time for Ohio State. And um, it's been kind of interesting because, Tyleek gets all the notoriety, but you're right. When you talk to people that are at the practice reports, Ty's the guy that they're talking about. And we talked about, 6 months ago on the defensive line that probably the safest pick for interior line starter was Ty. And, that's really saying something. And I think he's going to have an outstanding year for Ohio State. But look, the defense is only it's all about being able to generate that pass rush with four guys. Can you generate the pass rush with four? Can you get after the quarterback without having to blitz, without having to bring extra guys, without having to bring the pressure, without having to utilize the jack? I mean, if you can do that, football is a very basic game. It's stopping the run, being able to run and being able to pressure with four. So that starts on the defensive line and, goes from there. Now you can move from there to I know we'll talk about defensive backs, but, guys like Denzel Burke, I think people were down on Denzel last year, kind of like they were on Travion because he was hurt. I mean, I don't think people had any idea how much he was hurt. And he's not hurt this year, and he's playing much better as a result. And when you put him out there with Jordan Hancock and you put him out there with Davison, man, we've got some guys that can cover. And I think the cornerbacks for Ohio State are going to look completely different, but it starts with that pass rush. Pass rush gets there, force the quarterback to put the ball up there, make sure those defensive backs are able to get the ball, hands on the ball, create those turnovers. That's what we need. I think we're going to see more of it this year and can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we've had some addition by subtraction the last couple of years in a couple of those rooms. I've heard some things I don't really feel like repeating, but I think that the cultures of the D-line room and the defensive backs, the safeties, and the corners rooms respectively are both much better. I think Davison has been one of the stories of Ohio State. He shows up, magically everybody gets a little bit more sharp. Magically Denzel's a little more sharp. Magically Jordan Hancock is like, when you have a guy that can take your spot and he might actually be better than you, you magically, you sharpen up, you get healthy, you rehab, you take care of yourself, you push yourself in the workouts. And that's not all like a negative thing. It could just be a bunch of competitors competing for one of the two starting corner spots. And honestly, I think corner, is a lot like running back in that I think you're going to see a rotation. I think you're going to see multiple guys, especially early in the season when it's hot. Guys get cramps, guys get hamstrings. Like, these guys gotta stay fresh. I mean, it's a very long season, and something that no one's really talked about is we have a really early bye week, and that's kind of a double-edged sword. It doesn't make the game impossible, but you wish it was a little bit later in the year because as you accumulate getting beat to crap and hurt and sore and need to have a surgery that you're trying to put off till the bye week, when you have that early bye week, it's really hard. Now, my last year in 2007, we had no bye week. We went 12 straight weeks. So it is possible to make it all the way through without a bye week. But, the schedule sets up, it's tough. It gets tough, not just the opponents, but the travel. So it'll be really interesting to see, how it shakes out. And I think that the most encouraging thing about this team is there's a lot of depth at a lot of positions where you really need depth, like corner, like defensive tackle. I think getting Tywone Malone is going to be one of the steals of the century because we frankly are thin there. And, you need Hero Canoe to give you 10 snaps, 10, 15 snaps a game and be good. I mean, it's not 10 snaps and go out there and get your break speed off. It's 10 snaps up there and playing rough tumble Big Ten football and generating pass rush and being able to hold it, hang in there in the run game. Because defensive tackle it's not the hardest position to play because that's cornerback by a country mile. But it's probably the physically toughest position to play because you get banged a lot. You get into a lot of double teams, a lot of guys fall into your legs. Those guys, they should get medals because they really do get destroyed by the O-line coming off on double teams and that kind of thing. So you need at least 4 guys to make through the season. Ideally, you'd have 5 guys in the middle because you've seen in the past few years, like Mike Hall was hurt a lot. Tyleek was hurt during camp. Like, it's a tough position because you're getting hit a lot. And, when Donovan Jackson is double teaming you with Josh Simmons, that ain't fun. It's actually terrible. So I'm looking forward to seeing what those guys do. Nevada, we've got a potential 5-star commitment coming. We're going to get into that right now. What are your thoughts on where we stand with Brandon Baker right now?
Well, look, the people I talk to in Southern California that kind of follow him closely, that know him the best, that have known him for a long time, say Ohio State's a school to beat, and so Ohio State's in the driver's seat. So that certainly gives me optimism. He's the type of kid that Ohio State seems to have done well with in the past. He's not an NIL only kid. And I think Ohio State's in a great position, and they keep telling me they think they'll get him. And the teams that you would normally think would be suitors for him all think that Ohio State's in the driver's seat for him. So, yeah, hey, we're looking for how can we improve this class, from a rating standpoint. Well, adding a 5-star like Brandon Baker would certainly do it, and I think Ohio State's well positioned to do it. Obviously, official visits, still to go on that, but I think Ohio State's well positioned, and if I for my money, I bet on the Buckeyes to be the winner of the Brandon Baker Derby.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you get him and you get him and Luke Montgomery as your bookend tackles for a while, that'd be a fantastic pairing. I think Luke's a perfect left tackle. I mean, if he's a little bit taller, he'd be a Paris Johnson level prospect, but I think he's a tier right below that. A little shorter, but he has fantastic feet, fantastic footwork. That was, something I noticed about him is really light mover, really good high level basketball player. So it's just something that you look at. You kind of look at all the attributes and you see, Brandon, again, he's playing right tackle here. I think he'd be a phenomenal right tackle in college football, but he could easily play left as well. I think that there's less of a gap between the left tackle and right tackle than there used to be. I know that everybody thinks that the left tackle is the ultra premium position and the right tackle is just some guy that plays over there. But if you look at the National Football League, Trent Williams is the highest paid left tackle in the league, and Lane Johnson, who's the highest paid right tackle in the league, makes almost the same amount of money because he's just that good. And with the proliferation of throwing the ball in football at the college and NFL level, you need two pass blocking tackles. So there's no hiding. It's not like the left tackle goes against the good players. Like the right tackle, if you're the right tackle and you play in the NFC West, you get to see Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa. Or excuse me, Khalil Mack. You're seeing those guys line up on the other side of the field too. Excuse me, they're AFC. But I think that this is a kid that he's going to be one to watch. It's us in Texas. He's visiting Nebraska. I can't see a kid like this committing to Nebraska. I just think that they're just too far down the road in terms of development. So it looks like it's going to be us in Texas. Obviously, Texas, they've got the NIL thing going, but I think that the development and the depth chart really looked great for Ohio State for this kid. I love watching him play. I love watching these kids from these schools that, frankly, look like colleges. When you see Mater Dei and Bosco and some of these schools that are on ESPN this weekend, I mean, that is just incredibly big time ball. And shout out to St. Ed. St. Ed's, the Armstrong twins beat Good Counsel today. That's a big win for Ohio high school football. St. Ed's looks really good. I mean, they've got a massive offensive line. But yeah, Nevada, I think that, O-line recruiting is so much about development. Where would you rank this class as a whole if we could land Brandon Baker on the heels of getting Edric Houston?
Well, I've said that I thought it would be right up there with the best, highest regarded classes. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about the total number of points on some year where you sign 31 guys. I'm talking about the average star rating. I think it'll be right up there among the best classes that we've ever had. You've had some classes. The Ewers class was a little bit weird because you had him kind of come into the class as a reclassification, and that kind of skewed things a little bit. But this one's going to be right up there. I mean, I think we're sitting right now with 5 of the top 19 players in the country, which is just an obscene number. So, Ryan Day continues to recruit at a high level, and I mean, at an absolutely high, at an elite level. And when you do that, you put yourself in position, to have a chance to win the national championship. He's continued to do that, stringing these classes back to back to back to back. And that's how you build kind of dynastic situations. And Ryan Day certainly continued on it from the foundation that Urban Meyer kind of brought in the high level recruiting, but been doing a great job. And this class will be right up there at the top.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, it's harder to judge recruiting classes in total now because with the transfer portal, you could sign an amazing class and half the guys could leave after 1 year because of the transfer portal. And plus, on the flip, you kind of have to evaluate how many guys do I take that are high school seniors versus how many guys do I go after in the portal? Because, you still have that hard 85 cap. Obviously, you can soften it up and offer kids NIL deals. Like Lorenzo Salas Jr., for instance, is a walk-on this year because one of the collectives is actually paying for his tuition. So it deletes the cap crunch. That was something that was not possible pre-NIL. It is possible now. So it's going to be interesting to see how you evaluate these classes because it's so much more muddled, it's so much murkier when you can go out and, say, Ryan Day decides, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to spend our NIL money on the top 7 guys that are in the portal. And you go out and get 7 Davis Adigbonosens, to join your team, or you get, 7 guys that are like that caliber, starting caliber, potential 3 and out caliber type players. Like it skews a little bit. You're going to be taking smaller high school classes. But I think that, some of these guys' demises were greatly exaggerated. I think Larry Johnson, as much as he was getting, talked down about, to go out and get Justin Scott and go out and get Edric Houston, that's as dynamic of a duo as we've ever landed at Ohio State for a defensive tackle, defensive end combo. You're getting 2 legitimate 5-star players at 2 ultra premium positions. So kudos to him. And you got some other guys coming. Obviously we whiffed on a few, but you land 2 5-stars in one position room any year. That is a banner year for that room. Obviously, it's all skewed because Brian Hartline seems to do that every year. But you can't judge someone off of, something that's such an anomaly like Brian Hartline's recruiting. So, but I'm just excited for these guys. Like I said, this kid's film is great. I love watching it. I think that a lot of these kids are starting to wise up and realize that Ohio State is a pipeline to the NFL. If you show up here and you work, you're going to get drafted. You're going to get drafted high. The reputation for development is spellbinding. When you watch these NFL games and you see Ohio State guys all over the rosters, it kind of drives it home. Well, it is game week, Nevada. You have any bold predictions as we wrap this show up today?
Well, I think, my bold prediction is that the Ohio State running game leads the way against Indiana, and that it's that we have 3 guys go over 100 yards against the Hoosiers, and that's something that's rarely done at Ohio State. It's only been done a handful of times, but I think it happens on this Saturday. I think the running game shows out and leads the way for a dominant Buckeye performance.
I agree. I think we're going to have some explosives. I think I'll say we'll have 5 plays over 50 yards on offense, which is a lot, 250 yards. But I can just see us taking the top off the ball. I can see, Trey showing off his breakaway speed. I think that's back. The people I talked to in camp says that he looks like he's hungry, man. He's like Pac-Man out there, just running through people, eating up yardage, getting the big chunk plays. Something that I would love, and I don't know if we're going to get there, see a couple screens to try it, because the last time we threw it to him, I think, was the Minnesota game in 2001. He went for like 77 yards or something crazy like that. So it was like his first touch of his career, and he went to the crib. So I'd love to see some of that, and I'd love, again, take care of that offensive line, please. Screen game, quick game, 3-step drops, run the ball. It's real easy to kind of build up their confidence. It doesn't matter if you give up a sack on a 7-man drop or whatever, as long as you give up no sacks, you're in good shape. So it'll be interesting to see what this O-line can do. I'm really excited to watch them. So with that being said, we're going to wrap this show up. We appreciate you guys. Happy Sunday. CJ Stroud is going to be playing tonight at 8 o'clock. I don't know if they're going to give him maybe a drive or 2 in this final preseason game. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please click like. Then also click our little subscribe button. Send this show along to all of your friends. And also click that alert bell if you enjoy our live content. If you want the best experience for college football, join BuckeyeScoop.com. Our message board is going crazy, and we really enjoy being on there. Great group of fans, some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life, and just a great community of people. So we appreciate you guys so much. It's here, guys. It's game week. Time to go beat Indiana. These guys are getting locked in, ready to roll. So as always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Buckeye Scoop family. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.